guys, I'm Laura Vitale, and on this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you how to make lemon blueberry rolls. They are so good, you cannot even imagine. They're simple and easy to make. I'm using my standard cinnamon roll dough because it works so well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What you'll need is not very many crazy ingredients. To start off the dough, you'll need some flour and salt, which I have in my bowl over here already. Some unsalted butter that I'm going to melt in the microwave in just a minute. An egg, granulated sugar, active dry yeast, some vanilla extract, and in here I have a mixture of milk and water that I just brought to about 115 degrees. I just I combine the two, pop it in the microwave for about 45 seconds, and it seems to be the perfect amount of time. And now that that's there, really easy, we're going to activate the yeast. To the milk and water mixture, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of sugar, and I'm going to add my yeast. I like to just give it a quick little mix like that, nothing fancy. And I'm going to let that set aside for just a few minutes or until it starts to foam up a little bit on top. In the meantime, I'm going to melt my butter and then we'll pretty much proceed. You can see it's starting to foam up a little bit around there. It smells very yeasty, which is what you want. That's when you know it's activated. So now that I have that ready, I'm pretty much ready to rock and roll. I'm going to add the egg right in there just so that I can get all the wet ingredients all there at once. Put the sugar in, really simple, really easy dough, extremely forgiving. Add a good splash of vanilla. I'm not even going to mix anything together because you know what? This is what you have this for. Throw that all in. Let me just take some of that yeast from the edge. Get that in there. Oh, raise this up. And then just get it going. And get it once it's kind of all combined, let it mix on medium speed for about 5 to 7 minutes or until it's nice and smooth. That looks fantastic. I got a nice big bowl here that I just sprayed with some non-stick spray, just some plain like vegetable spray, vegetable oil, a little bit of butter, anything to make it so that it doesn't stick. Get it out of here. It's really nice and really smooth. Pop it into your oiled bowl. What I like to do is to kind of flip it around like that so that both sides are coated. I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap, stick it somewhere nice and warm, and let it rise for about an hour and a half or so, or until it's really doubled in size, and you'll see it gets really quite puffy. And I'll show you what to do next. Look at this, real. Look at that. That is what I'm talking about. Punch it down, be gentle. I'm going to get some flour on my work surface. Now what I also have is some melted butter. I've got some fresh blueberries, granulated sugar, and some lemons that I'm going to zest. And I've got my big, not that big, round pan. You can use a 9 by 13 inch pan that I've sprayed with some spray. Oh, I'm just excited. This looks fantastic. And when you push it down, like it's like you hardly have to do anything to it. You don't even have to really use a rolling pin to roll this out. You see? This works really well. I just like to take my rolling pin just to kind of make it so that it's all kind of even. But really, this dough is just so wonderful. You don't even have to worry about it. Put your butter down. Now you can do this with soft butter, you can do it with melted butter. It does not make a difference. As long as you've got some butter, you're gonna be just fine. I like to brush this from end to end because this also kind of works as glue for when you kind of start to roll it and you need to pinch it to keep everything in. So just make sure you brush it from end to end, and if some spill out as you roll this around, that's fine, because what that's doing is coating almost every side of your roll with butter. And just tell me who's gonna say there's too much butter on my roll. If anyone ever tells you that, just do me a favor, walk away. Walk away, otherwise you're like me, you lose your patience and you go off. There's no such thing. And then I like to leave it just a little bit for the top. All right. Take your sugar. These are just so fantastic, just you wait. I think using blueberries that are in season, now I'm really lucky because I live very close to the blueberry capital of the world, and we just get some just you cannot believe how sweet those are. They're fantastically sweet, so I don't need to add a ton of sugar, although I am adding quite a bit, because we are going to make about 16 rolls, but they are just really fantastic. I love their sweetness. I love how juicy they are. You know what? Go for it. I just say you go for it. And then you need the zest of 2 lemons. What I will say is, I've said this before, if you ever use zest of lemons, you know, the zest, the outside of anything, try to always get organic if you can, because you really will taste, you know, you want that pure lemon flavor. So I'm just gonna zest both lemons, trying to get this as even as possible, but you know, it's all gonna mix together well when you roll, so don't even panic if it's not perfect. And then just cover the surface with some fresh blueberries and just roll like so. Try to tuck them in. I don't put any blueberries at the very edge because they'll just roll out. And then just pinch the bottom like so. I just love to bake. I really do. Such a calming, glorious feeling, I think. Okay, like so. Now I want 16, but this right here doesn't have much going on. So I'm just going to snip that off. I'm still gonna bake this because you know what I call this, right? That's my cook's treat. I deserve it. Am I right or am I right? I'm gonna stick a little blueberry in there too. Same thing on this side. You can cut these however big or small. You know, you can make as many or as few as you want. I think 16 would be perfect. So I'm just gonna cut them in half. I want about 8 out of each half. Then you just take each one, flip it over like so, and put it in your prepared pan. Just like that. And I know you're probably thinking, I want more blueberries than that, but you've got to be careful because the blueberries will kind of leach out a lot of their, you know, own juices. So you don't want to put too much because otherwise it can make the dough soggy, and nobody wants a soggy roll. So just be careful and use your knife to kind of help you if they aren't cut all the way. But just you wait till you see how glorious these are when they are done. I want to show you something because, you know, around here, we're all about keeping it real. We're all about, you know, it's a real home cooking. Look how beautiful this pan is. And I don't want to overcrowd this because these are going to rise a little bit, then they're going to rise more in the oven. So what I like to do is if you've got any extras that you just don't feel like you should fit in the pan because you overcrowd them, put them in a little muffin tin like that. Oh, just you wait how gorgeous these look. And then I've got my little cook's treat. This is a little bit more than the other, so I'll put that in there. And then just take this one, right? And when this one comes out, you know what I'm gonna do with it? Slather this with some jam. All right, pop that in there. What I'm gonna do is just brush just a little bit of butter on top of all of my rolls. I'm going to cover these with some plastic wrap, the same plastic wrap we had on top of the bowl, and pop these at room temperature, somewhere warm. You know, I like to put them in the microwave with the microwave turned off and let these rest for about a half hour to 45 minutes or until they have doubled. And then I will show you what we're going to do. Well, I'll show you what they look like before we put them in the oven. And then after we put them in the oven, I'm just gonna have a glaze. I don't care what rolls you're making, I need a glaze. So once they bake, I'll show you the glaze. I'll show you all that fun stuff when the time comes. But for now, let these rest and let them double up in size. These baby has been resting for about a half hour or so. I've got my oven preheated to 350. I'm gonna pop these in for around a half an hour or until they're lightly golden brown. We're gonna let them cool quite a bit and then we'll make our glaze. That's it. Although that one's probably gonna get eaten by the time you get back. I pretty much guarantee it. My rolls were in the oven for about 40 minutes. The other ones I took out just a few minutes before that. They only took about 25 minutes. I took them out and they've been resting back there. Now I took these out about a half hour ago, but they are still warm, which is what I like. I don't want them to be piping hot, otherwise the glaze will kind of melt in a really awkward way, but slightly warm, salivating, can't be beaten. Okay, to make the glaze, really simple, really easy. I mixed together some cream cheese with just a little tiny bit of butter, both of them at room temperature, really important. To that, I'm gonna add just a small splash of vanilla. Small for you, quite a big splash for me. because that's just what I like. I love vanilla, and I feel like it's a must-have, even in a glaze like this. Then you need to add confectioner's sugar. I'm going to add the juice of about a half a lemon because I don't want this glaze to be overly lemony, because I find that it'll take away from that sort of velvety smoothness that I want. And just a tiny bit of milk just now, and then once you get it going, if you need to thin it out a little bit more, add more milk. I do this by hand. I don't even take out my mixer for this, and I really feel like it works so much better with a spatula than with a whisk, because you can see you really need to work in that confectioner's sugar, and if you were to use a whisk, it's actually a bit more difficult. So just take your time and just mix until there are no longer any big chunks of sugar. This looks fantastic. Now you can serve the glaze on the side if you want to, or you can pour it right on like I like to do. It really is up to you, but look at this. Just look at that. What you can also do is invert this entire thing on a big cake stand and just then pour the glaze on top and pull apart the rolls. So good. But for now, I'm just going to put some of this glaze on. I won't put too much. Meanwhile, I keep going back in for more, and that's because it's so good. I already have a plate ready for myself, because you know me, I'm gonna go right in. Now, ordinarily, this is where things get tricky. Ordinarily, you know, I'd go right for the center, and I almost want to, but what happens is the blueberries give out some of their juices, and they caramelize around the edge. Do you see that right there? I so just love that. So I'm going to take that one. Let me get it out of here. Oh, it's sticky. It's so gooey. It's delicious. I can really smell the lemon. Can I get this out of here or what? Look at this beauty. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about right there. I love that. It's like caramelized goodness. And then, you know, if you're a lady, you might not want to eat it this way, but I like to kind of pull it apart to expose the center, and then look at that, look at the blueberries, and then dip in the glaze, and munch. So good. You cannot even imagine how good this is. The blueberries like explode in your mouth. Not overly lemony. Oh my goodness. You need to make these. Like right now. LauraInTheKitchen.com. It's so fluffy. Oh, LauraInTheKitchen.com has a written recipe ready for you. Get your ingredients. Make this. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.